Iran continues enriching uranium at high levels. Things are so bad between Iran and the sitting president that he left detailed instructions on how to obliterate Iran if the country is successful in eliminating him. Article: Trump says he's given advisors instructions for Iran to be obliterated if it assassinates him. He let Iran know about his special executive instructions. Iran, Iraq's closest neighbor and trading partner, has continued to place Iraq in the middle between itself and the U.S. You understand more than most Americans as IQD investors. Let's hope Iraq can improve its economic status and be in a position to allow the currency to float to a higher value. Al-Sudani's advisor rebukes citizens for storing money at home and calls for investing it, quote. Al-Duraji, the technical advisor to the Prime Minister. There is a large cash mass held by citizens outside the banking system, which makes it economically useless if it remains stored in homes, calling for transferring this money to investment projects that contribute to transforming it into assets that support the national economy and enhance sustainable development. Iraq signs new gas export contract with Iran. In Iraq, parliamentary finance. No new appointments in the 2025 budget. Sudani has pledged that they will not take on any new appointments or projects until they settle Article 12 and finish this thing. They need Erbil and HCL to be finished. This is the absolute top priority. Have I not been telling you they're coming after you? Have I not said constantly, protect yourself, be careful? Have I not told you there are entities, our government, taxes, fines, people, and your greed is going to get in the way? Your greed is going to cause you to lose everything. You're willing to gamble a year or two to see what the float does. I don't criticize it, but what if another virus worse than the coronavirus? You ain't going to have no time to make no money and wait, the whole world shut down. Iraq advances one place in global gold reserves, quote. The World Gold Council announced today, Sunday, that Iraq has advanced one place in the ranking of countries that hold the most gold in the world. Iraq increased its gold holdings to 162.7 tons, representing 12.7% of its total other reserves. I have contacts that are physically working in some locations. They started over this weekend. A couple of group contacts are steadily working and dusting off old paperwork and going through things because they have not been there in quite some time. Some groups expect full release of Tier 4A funds this week as well. I am very excited about the chatter, but we need it to actually come to fruition. The sheer numbers of folks in physical position around the world right now that are updating paperwork is amazing. Oh, help you on an exchange, you're probably going to want to call your bank and schedule an appointment. In other words, don't just, if you're heavily invested in this, don't just walk into a bank with a big ol' bag of money and say, I need to exchange all this. Call them, set it up, schedule it, let them know how much you have. Ask them, do they have limits that you can bring in? I'm not calling a bank. I'm going to call Wells Fargo's private bank. I'll be able to bring in all my currency at one time. I don't have to bring it in stages or in different intervals or anything like that. I can bring it all in at once. Iraq's dollar reserves exceed $100 billion. Iraq advances one place in the global reserve. Iraq has massive amounts of reserves in comparison to what she truly needs in foreign currencies. You add the foreign reserves with her gold. For some reason they just found a few more tons of gold because they went from about 152 tons to about 162 tons. They found enough chump change to go buy 10 tons of gold. I think that's pretty funny because everybody's like, where do you get all that money? All their new non-oil revenues and the profits they're making. They're making a surplus, and you wonder why gold is at $2,880. That's a big jump, all-time extreme highs. Any good RV news, Mark? Some are saying today may be our day? Mark Z. I am hearing that, but they may be a couple days premature, but not far off. Mr. Sammy says we have made it to the finish line. We just need to cross it now. Frank, I tend to agree with you, Mr. Sammy. I use the example of Neil Armstrong whaling down the ladder of the lunar module. He has one foot on the step of the ladder, but the other foot is already touching the surface of the moon. We are simply waiting for the other foot to also touch the surface. For Iraq, non-oil revenues, which include taxes, customs and earnings from sectors outside hydrocarbons, rose to nearly 12% of total revenues in the first 9 months of 2024, up from about 7% before the approval of Iraq's landmark 3-year budget in 2023. The rise in non-oil revenues is attributed to increased import customs, expanded taxes and contributions from the housing, transport and construction sectors. Member of the Parliamentary Oil, Gas and Wealth Committee Nazim al-Shabli called on the federal government today, Tuesday, to expedite sending the draft oil and gas law. Al-Shabli told Al-Maluma agency, "The legislation of the oil and gas law is sufficient to solve the crisis of salaries of the region's employees," indicating that the law contributes greatly to stopping oil smuggling as well as addressing the salary crisis. He added that, "The salary crisis is ongoing until now and there is hope and a beginning to solve it after the legislation of the oil and gas law within the Council of Representatives," noting that, "the region continues to smuggle oil." He stressed the need to expedite sending the oil and gas law to solve the giant problems between Baghdad and Erbil. The Prime Minister's advisor for Transport Affairs, Nasser al-Assadi, announced today, Tuesday, a plan to form a special body to manage the FAO port and the development road, while pointing out that 95% of the FAO projects have been completed. Al-Assadi stated, in a statement to the official agency, that work is underway to complete the 5 projects in the FAO port, which include the submerged tunnel, the road linking the port, the welcome yards, the container handling yard, and the marine dock for docking ships. He also explained that the 5 projects have reached advanced completion rates of approximately 95% for each of them, while work on the immersed tunnel has reached the stage of examining the soil under the tunnel, which is located underwater, which requires the use of advanced engineering techniques that are being introduced to Iraq for the first time. He added, "We are currently studying the formation of a special authority to manage the FAO port and the development road, which will also supervise the economic city, the residential city, and investments along the development road." He also indicated that Oliver Wyman International has been appointed to study the economic model of the project, with the aim of providing economic opportunities according to the requirements of the global market, noting that the FAO port is expected to be operational this year, to be completed with the development path by the end of 2028. On Tuesday, Rod al-Maliki, a member of the Parliamentary Legal Committee, expected that the Federal Supreme Court would issue a decision to invalidate the session of the Council of Representatives, in which the 3 controversial laws were voted on, and to return those laws to Parliament for re-voting.